quite the interesting matchup. They have faced against one another a few times. And obviously, Dignitas for a long time, we always talk about the big three of Europe. And before the Western Clash, they were a solid third. I think that's pretty fair to say. Fnatic and Team Liquid were in those, competing for those top 2 spots.
But that's always the case. We go into every tournament and we're talking about Team Liquid, we're talking about Fnatic, and at the end of the tournament, Dignitas holds the trophy. Yep. It's always the same MO.
And at this point, it's starting to till everyone.
Yeah. Oh no, Fnatic loves it. The entire Dignitas lifts that trophy. Fnatic is like deserved winners. We don't mind it. We were the favorite, supposedly, and Dignitas took it.
We're not grinding our teeth at all. So, and then on the other side, of course, you've got eStar, a team that has had many roster changes throughout its history, but has always had this special air about them, Fan. A team that people look at and they do garner a sense of respect.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, eStar was, for the better part of 2015 and 2016, a team that rivaled like MVP Black. They were always #1 in China. They were very highly respected in the Eastern scene. But, you know, as time has passed, they have changed out a lot of their core players that made really high impact. So kind of curious to see where eStar falls now.
How do you two view eStar?
I have to say that for me, with Chinese teams in general, it's always, ever since Warcraft 3, I want to say, then also with StarCraft, the Chinese esports scene was always known to be different and very aggressive and always very threatening because of them being different.
Right.
And that kind of translates, for me at least, into HOT. So every time I watch them, I expect great things. I expect them to be aggressive, and I expect them to surprise people.
Yeah, I think they have the style, which is the polar opposite, like Calder was saying, of, for example, what we saw from Tempo Storm, who took a almost very clinical, but definitely very patient and a grinding out style. And we've never, you know, as veterans of the RTS scene, Calder and I, we've never really seen Chinese step back from a fight in these games.
It's actually funny that you say that, because I remember one of the first international events that we had, the Chinese later on were interviewed about the games, and they were saying, we don't understand what's happening here. We start to fight and Europe just leaves the fight. Whereas we commit fully to it until either everyone's dead or we don't commit. So this whole poking thing that we had going on in Europe for a long time was completely foreign to them.
But that's the thing too. Europe in every game show, like, they'll have measured aggression when they have adopted it, when they've learned it. But the initial response of Europe's style in these strategy games is usually, all right, let's wait and see, let's play it out. Oh, we are 90% ahead, let's wait till we're 95% ahead, that kind of thing. Because we know we can get there. And it's a valid way of winning as well, but it's definitely different than what we see from the Chinese style coming out. So cool to see these different ecosystems exist.
That's the best thing about the times that we get these proper world championships. Every single time, they are never disappoint. So let's focus on Dignitas now, the other team on the other side of the field. Whilst we do have many, of course, starting things off. So what can you guys tell me about Dignitas? The position that they are currently in, coming off the win of the Western Clash, and then the position going into this tournament.
I think for Dignitas, they are definitely a very serious contender for this tournament. You hear a lot of people talking about how MVP Black, L5, and Fnatic are by far the top 3 favorites, and I feel like a lot of people feel that way, and it's not really completely justified to kind of keep putting Dignitas down. I mean, they have so many trophy wins. I think part of it is Dignitas feels kind of like old Tempo Storm to me, where even though they keep winning and they're really consistent, their games just don't look as impressive, so a lot of people kind of don't respect them as much as they do the other teams. But I think Dignitas is very strong right now and, you know, definitely in contention with the other 3.
One of the things that stands out for me is that when you talk to them, they say at Western Clash, they didn't feel that strong yet. For Zelia, it was one of the first offline tournaments. He had to really get the experience there first. This is, of course, now him playing on a much bigger stage, but he himself says, I feel way more confident, and to transition from Western Clash to this tournament is much smaller than what he had to experience before. And Dignitas as a whole is always echoing how they feel way more as a real 5-man right now than they did at Western Clash. So for us, I guess that means they will show an even stronger performance.
Robbie, thoughts?
I'm just impressed by what you're saying, Fan, because I think you're actually right. Like, I've probably been guilty of it as well. We come to Western Clash and it's like, yeah, we know they always walk away with the trophy, but they're probably seed 3. It's true. There's something about their games that is just lethally effective, but it's not the flashiest non-stop hook hits per se. It's not the flashiest. It's just kind of the everything, kind of the success. Like the win formula.
Yeah,
and it's definitely time to credit that to them. They are a top 3 or top 4 favorite team here.
Of course, though, make sure to actually choose who you think is going to be winning here in the chat as well, with the hashtag for either Dignitas or eStar. Caldo, I think you wanted to follow up on that point.
Yeah, I think it's one of those... I feel like Dignitas is the embodiment of a team that really thrives in a tournament setup. They become stronger throughout the tournament and they just win when everything is on the line. They have the ability to do that. We see that in normal sports as well as in esports, and they are just one of those teams that have that ability.
Now, given that what we said about Dignitas, can they afford to drop a map to eStar here with the ambition that they should be having? Probably not, right?
I would say they would not be happy if they dropped the map to eStar here, yeah.
Well, we're going to be on Infernal Shrines for the first map, and then Dragonshire is going to be our second map down the line. So what are we thinking for Infernal Shrines? It's an absolute EU staple. We're going into the draft now here between these two teams. What are your first thoughts?
My first thought is that I want to see if eStar once again relies on that hyper carry Vala that we've now seen several times, not only from the Chinese, but just the Asian regions in general seem to really prioritize that style still very, very highly. And I want to see if they play it for a simple reason. I think that the European teams are very comfortable playing against it and even allowing it to an extent where we've seen earlier today, Tacit are not even banned out because the teams are just saying, hey, we can deal with this. Take your best shot. We are able to counter that. We're ready for it.
Yeah, I can't help but think this is going to be another one of the like Vala Oreo compositions versus the, you know, like Malfurion, Genji, Greymane, and Nubrak, even though Nubrak was the ban there. Just kind of that kind of game that we've been seeing all day.
Uther is going to come in as the first choice here for Team Dignitas. And in the past, there has been a trend of them getting Bakery on what he feels is comfortable. There was always that, we're going to go Malfurion first, and now it's, we're going to go every game first.
Malfurion. The thing with Uther first is also that if you have Genji, then with Dragon Blade and a Divine Shield, he just becomes so much more scary. So with an Uther pick this early, eStar has to recognize this. They have to either say, okay, take it, we are good at going up against it, or they have to take it away now.
I felt that just about half a year ago, Dignitas' biggest weakness was their draft. They were predictable and they were a bit outdated with the meta. But with this opening of the draft so far, I feel like this is the best first pick we've seen so far today. Like just taking Uther early as one of the two top supports would force your opponent to take Malf, or you get to ban it. And I think Uther is the best supporter right now. He enables so much. He counters Genji, and he supports Genji, so love the opening there by Dig.
Well, on the other side, eStar going for a true tried Chinese fable, the Teriel Greymane.
Yeah, that's a really strong composition. Not only that, but Xingxi on eStar, he's known as the Wolf King or the Wolfman King in China. That's what they call him.
Is that actually the translation?
Yeah, that's the translation. Greymane translates to Wolfman, and they call him the King there. So he's one of the innovators of Greymane when he first came out. I think Xingxi and Dami were two of the best Greymane players out there. They really redefined aggression on the heroes, so looking forward to that. Another thing to note is that they didn't pick any stuns or roots, for example, Malfurion or a stun tank. Maybe, you know, due to the Uther first pick there.
They actually talked about this quite a bit, that they are very happy with the current changes to heroes, since they say, we have the best Greymane player in the world. If we can complement that with either an Uther or a Tacita composition, we can make so much happen here. So they must feel really happy about getting that early Greymane.
One thing that stands out is that's an early Gul'dan. Considering all the drafts that we've seen today, we've seen him like once or twice.
I think we've seen him once, and that was like fourth hero in a row. And yeah, Dignitas showing that they're bringing their own meta, and as always in these group phases, we see who's got the best one.
Yeah. I mean, personally, I think Gul'dan is a very strong hero on Inferno Shrines. It seems like the teams here are very divided on that, though. You know, outside of Dignitas, we really haven't been seeing that much Gul'dan, so I'm looking forward to seeing how well they can pilot it.
I'm really happy about the pick and also that it's this early, since Mena is just so strong on the hero. He's probably the best Gul'dan that we currently have in Europe, and what he can do with that hero against the Greymane that oversteps just a tiny bit with a quick ultimate is just so strong. Also, it complements the map very nicely. We have also on top of this a Johanna even. I think when it comes to Shrine clear, to wave clear overall, they are already looking fantastic in this game.
What do you think of Johanna so early? I've often thought of Johanna recently, in the last few months, as a second-rate Arthas. They're both anti-auto attack, they have some damage around themselves, and they both have decent survivability. Why Johanna here so early?
I actually think they are likely to complement Johanna plus Shield with an additional follow-up. We've seen a few weeks back that combo for, I think, 2 weeks where Johanna and Ragnaros were played together. So you lead with a Blessed Shield and then drop a Sulfur Smash on it. Not quite sure if they would really commit to it here, but I think with such an early Johanna pick, you have the obvious advantages, of course, wave clear, Shrine presence, but I would say there's something along the line where they just complement another stun or another big burst damage on the shield.
With Blessed Shield being slightly more easy to hit than Howling Blast from Arthas?
I would say so, yeah.
Maybe,
It's faster.
Yeah, it's faster.
Yeah.
Okay.
So where does eStar go from here? They've got 2 components. What do they want now?
Genji's still up.
It's true.
Genji is still up. I haven't seen China in particular play too much Genji, though. I know Korea plays it, so I would be interested in seeing if they want that or not. I feel like if they're going to go with this no stun route, I would like to see something like maybe a Zarya or a Tassadar even, just kind of complementing their draft. Go with the Falstad Rhaegar, though. It's interesting pickups.
Well, still no stun. In that sense, you're definitely right. Trying to circumvent that Uther Guardian of Ancient Kings level 7 talent.
Yeah.
No stuns and roots.
I mean, one more thing that maybe speaks in favor of Johanna, I'm curious to see what you think about it, is we've seen a lot of those combos with Greymane where you just try to blow up the tank instead of going for the backline, so they already have a hero with this. Maybe they were a bit afraid that there was additional stun stacked or burst damage that you could follow up on the Cursed Bullet, and they felt that Johanna has a better chance of walking away from that.
Sort of self-cleansing capabilities. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, definitely. That's one
Arthas-
of the biggest strengths of Johanna versus Arthas is he's so much more survivable in the front line. It's just a much safer pick in general.
And a very strong health pool, but at the same time, Cursed Bullet, if you're a Johanna, feels awful.
Yeah.
It feels so
okay,
bad.
let's be fair. It feels awful no matter what.
I guess, yeah.
Ooh,
hello.
Hello. Kerrigan coming out. Zelia's Kerrigan is pretty crazy. He's been practicing it a lot. I had the pleasure of playing with him a few times. He plays it very well.
I was about to say the pleasure or displeasure. Which team were you on?
He was on my team, so I was pretty happy.
Okay, the pleasure. Right, continue.
No, but just it's cool to see that coming out here. It's long been a threat on Infernal Shrines, but it has fallen off the map. But not for Dignitas. And there we go, eStar with D.Va.
Okay, this is really interesting to see the D.Va pick, because they have been talking about how they feel D.Va is strong, but how they don't feel confident yet in implementing her in their draft, since they did have very little time to prepare with her. So that in such a game, they now throw her out immediately.
Yeah.
That is super interesting to me.
All of our divas have been last picks. And we saw the isolation potential of her when we watched Nomia play.
Yeah.
eStar can quite easily activate to that level of capability, I would say.
I mean, if their execution is on point, yes.
Yes.
If they've played it well, this could definitely be amazing. And it's really cool too. Complete circumvention of that Uther level 7 talent, but a lot of control. The slow totem from Rhaegar, Falstad's Gust, D.Va's bashing around, and also the zoning potential of that explosion. It's a good draft. Can they make it work?
Yeah, I like the draft on both sides here. I think it was quite clever by both sides, really, so.
All right, well, we're going to start with predictions. We're going to start with Kaldor and go all the way down.
European bias is strong with this one. No, I really feel that Dignitas just has it. We have Mena on his Gul'dan. The carrying pick alone gives me a lot of confidence for Dignitas. They wouldn't pick it if they hadn't complete faith in it. So I'm with Dignitas here.
Although my heart cries out to support the D.Va team, and I do hope that eStar makes a good showing, but I think Dignitas has the tools what they need to win this game.
All right.
Dignitas.
Fan?
You know, my
You're
brain...
surrounded by Europe fan.
I
What would you say?
am. My brain
There is
brain
the three of
says
us.
Dignitas, but you know, I think if eStar can execute their composition, they can actually pull it off. They need to execute almost perfectly, though.
Right.
But you know what? I'm going for eStar. Let's see what they got.
All right, well, that sounds good to me. I'm very curious to see how the Diva is going to work out here between Dignitas and eStar. Don't forget, of course, that we do have the voting going on, and there's a lot of Europeans still awake, apparently. So there you go, doing all right. I mean, it's not even that late, to be fair. So
Keep in mind, Diva is 2-0, 200% win rate, therefore, isn't it?
200%.
Yeah.
200%.
That's how it works, is it?
Let's see if they can make it 300.
300%.
Yeah, courtesy of Nomia, who
Yeah.
took 2 back-to-back victories with her, so it could happen.
300%, then you're almost as fast as a Nitro boost. I'm okay with that.
exactly.
Yeah, fantastic.
I think that's how it works.
Yeah, precisely. All right, thank you very much, gentlemen, as we now head over to the commentary team as we go over to Dignitas versus eStar.
Dig versus eStar for our final match of the day. We'll have game 1 in short order. And I'm joined here with Jay Howe. How's it going, buddy?
I'm ready to get into the game, to say the least.
Yeah, you're not straining your legs at all doing that. I appreciate it. Thank you very much. What a great co-caster you are to do that. Here they are. One of Europe's main hopes, one of the 2 of hopes here for Europe in the mid-season brawl. It's Team Dignitas, with Bakery playing Uther Mene on Gul'dan, JPL playing Johanna, Kerrigan played by Zaelia, and Snitch playing Tychus.
And on the right side in red is going to be eStar with H on Tyrael. Zing C, the king himself, will be on Greymane. Falstad will be played by Tiger. Rhaegar being played by SW, and Diva played by X. And we know what he's going to do this game.
What's that?
He's going to give it to you.
What?
All right, as we can see, Diva already positioning into that bush early game. And this is something that, for those of us watching, we knew was going to come in for eStar, and right away they are focusing onto that mech.
The mech went down pretty instantly, which did give some charge, but not enough for Savage to even be close to being able to call down that mech. So eStar had to move back, get a little bit passive there at the beginning. Combo comes out. We'll be watching for those all game from Zaelia. One of the things that is so inspiring for me for Zaelia is how patient he is with abilities. Whether he's playing Zeratul or Dahaka, his patience is so great to see, and I'm excited to see that now transform into his Kerrigan play too, patiently waiting out for the perfect combo to get his team a kill.
I really want to see how that functions into a Diva. That's going to be one of the more interesting things. When we look at this as well, this is a map that generally focuses on the Fellflame build for Gul'dan. It's a little bit surprising we're seeing the Echoed Corruption, but to try and do damage against that frontline mech that takes away some of the healing if you want to keep that in the game. I like the approach here.
Yeah, there's a lot of melee. Another combo comes in, not enough to be able to self-destruct. Falstad has flown in too, so this means it's full 5-man from eStar. So even if Dignitas don't get a kill, the fact that they were able to pull all of the members of eStar down into a fight and not lose anybody for that lets Team Dignitas start netting a slight experience advantage.
Well, and we are going to see how this works as we see Falstad did have to Hearth, and normally you try and take advantage of that global to try and stay in the lane furthest away, fly up as is necessary, as we have a quick pause here. But first, Shrine phase coming up soon. Now this is our actual height.
No.
I look a lot taller.
No, I decided to get a chair and sit down.
Same.
Well, we've got our first shrine starting very soon. This is a best of 2 between eStar and Team Dignitas. As Fan mentioned earlier, Team Dignitas really wants to make sure that they get a strong 2-0 victory here over eStar. eStar, though, feels pretty confident in their group, too, and I know they're both sizing each other up in this early game of this game because they know that both of them at some point are going to have to play the Korean team in their group, L5, and both feel like maybe there's something to be done. Maybe they can get that first place spot and take out L5, but both want to just at least make sure they're not dropping points here.
Yeah, and it is key when we talk about that being points, is because if you get that 2-0, you get that extra point. So it can really help you advance to the next round and help your seeding as well. So it's always very important to not just say, hey, if we win 1, it's okay. If we win 2, obviously there's an incentive there. So I think the main priority is to give it your all for that seeding and to help secure your spot going forward in case you do stumble against like an L5. You want to outstretch the rest of the opponents.
Now, Jay-How, I don't want to get you too excited here, but although it's pretty rare to see, the occasion that we got to see Lucian, that's H, play his Tyrael in the HGC for Korea was always explosive. And the reason being is he would take Judgment and add follow through to that at level 7 and then be able to blow somebody up in an instant for him. So I'm wondering if we will see the same from him, or if he feels like there's a lot of tanky members on the team of Team Dignitas and he needs to have Sanctification to protect Greymane. It's all about how he wants to support Greymane. Does he feel it'd be better if he's diving in alongside him, adding the damage to that to blow up? Or because there's a Divine Shield, because there's tanky heroes like Tychus in the back line, it's not the ideal situation, and instead he'll stick with Sanctification to fully enable Xing Chen.
Well, we're going to find out as we have re-entered the game here. We're about 2 minutes in as the first shrine now is officially active the minute they click on that. Again, Kerrigan, after level 4, we know what she can do. I mean, you can start from level 1, but it's a lot easier at post level 4.
Yeah, getting clean kill enables it a lot more to start getting that damage upgrade too off of killing targets with Ravage. And there it is. Slight experience advantage from Team Dignitas, again, because they were able to force a flight down from eStar earlier on, but still it is anyone's shrine as eStar kicks things off.
Yeah, and you know, despite Kerrigan having that hard clear, you really have to support that. And the thing that is more interesting is we see the combo follow up there onto Xingzi. It's something that Fan highlighted when they talked about the draft, is there's no real hard CC on the side of eStar, so locking down Kerrigan, not that easy.
Yeah, it will be very difficult. Later on, they'll have things to try to maybe isolate her away, like Earth Grasp Totem as a potential, but even Holy Ground too from Lucian. But here it is a tough spot for them, and they may even just try to split focus. There's a combo again. Xaylia using those Ravage and the Skeletal Defenders to be able to get away from the team, dodging back and forth, but Xaylia gets taken out, the first kill for eStar.
Yeah, it's a really big deal there because that kind of shows exactly what eStar intends to do. They try and get that displacement, and the minute they were able to separate them, you have no choice. Yes, you can jump around with Kerrigan, but you're now isolated from your team. The minute they went over to the right, they dove in, they knew exactly what they were going to do to execute, and it worked out well.
Yeah, there's the possibilities definitely for the self-destruct too. We saw Nomiya execute it very well in their match earlier today, and now eStar is doing the same. Chasing down Snitch quite far into the space while the Punisher takes out the fort, just trying to push away that hard-hitting damage dealer who is here for Team Dignitas, who would be able to defend this Punisher easily and let eStar get more damage done to the structures.
The whole thing that we just saw there, eStar, they weren't able to get that strong push as Falstad was forced to respond because Kerrigan and Gul'dan both separated to the mid and bottom lanes respectively. And so they weren't able to be as aggressive because they needed to defend. It's a little bit of indecision there, but nonetheless, Dignitas holding the fort.
We're starting to get close to level 7. Mene, with his Corruption build, has still been getting the increased ability power at level 7. Bound by Shadow, I think it's called, to pair with that, which does mean, yeah, there it is, so, or Hunger for Power. So he doesn't get the cooldown reduction off of Felflame for Corruption, but instead, his Corruptions hit hard with that increased spell power. Yeah,
he's at about 14 stacks now, obviously working on that progressively, and you know, the team fight last game, or the last team fight wasn't extremely long, but you know, when we were talking about it during our break, we were hypothesizing on ways to use this. I want to see some setup into a corner if it's potentially the top shrine. Set up into that corner, maybe a Gust into an explosion could be a little bit of fun.
That's what I was wondering about too, right? Gust, maybe a Holy Ground too, like you set it up and as people are trying to go through a choke, especially, again, top shrine is what I was thinking about too. We had the top shrine earlier, but of course eStar's still beefing up their diva. Xaylia is getting chased down, combos in to pull Lucian, but at the cost of Kerrigan's life. Now Snitch has to run away, still being chased by Xingzi, but Snitch gets back in the safety of that fort.
Yeah, that's the thing is Kerrigan, it's kind of like you know what you're getting out of it, but what does she bring outside of just that shrine control, outside of that fast clear? You've got to win in other ways on the battleground to give yourself that advantage, else you find yourself in a 5-on-5 fight, or you find yourself being rotated on. Looking for those opportunities is something Dignitas is yet to do with this comp. They seem to be playing strictly around that. They have the composition. Johanna, Tychus, Gul'dan, Kerrigan, that's a lot of shrine control.
Oh, indeed it is, J-How. But eStar will have a camp pushing in the top lane, and they have their global in Falstad. But because they chose to take that camp, Team Dignitas get a sizable lead on Skeletal Defenders for the shrine. So now, what do eStar do? Do they get 10 and then force Dignitas off long enough to get this? Or are they going to try to get into a team fight immediately? And maybe a bit of both. Here comes the boosters. The bomb too, self-destruct is there, but it's on the retreat path.
Yeah, it is. Snitch, though, is getting dove up on the backside by Tiro. He's very, very low. He's going to go ahead and run and gun out of there, but the fight at the bottom continues as X continuing to put the pressure on with D.Va.
So the bomb went really far, and Team Dignitas were able to respond in time and move up and into the shrine, and because they had already had that advantage, they will get this Punisher. But the damage was done elsewhere for eStar, getting the top 4 thanks to the Bruiser push. I have noticed that when I was watching eStar, we talk about the aggression of China, and you saw that earlier in the game when eStar were willing to bring Falstad down, their global, give up some of the lane soak earlier on. But I've also noticed that they have been more focused on macro game than an eStar in the past. But I did ask them about this. I asked if they were going to change up their style at all, if they felt like they had evolved with their new members. They said, no, no, no. We're still the same hyper-aggressive eStar. We're still looking to win the game early. Some changes for our D.Va build now, getting Bunny Hop. What do you think?
I like it. We talk about ways to shut down that front line, and one of the ways that you can do that, or if you're hitting that back line, Tychus and Gul'dan are primary targets if you can get on them, and by slowing them down, it also falls into the potential follow-up with Executioner at 16 for Greymane. You get the slow off of Tyr, you get the slow off of D.Va, and now all of a sudden that level 16 talent looks a lot better.
Fat96 also got Aggressive Matrix at 7. Instead, coming through is increasing the knockback of boosters when Savage can boost in. So it's more of trying to hit somebody back and take full advantage of this mech, both with Bunny Hop and then making sure that you do hit some people with self-destruct.
Well, we are in between shrine phases here, as we see the priority for that Shaman camp. Both those will not be available going forward by the time the next shrine is. So they're going to put pressure on the map elsewhere, as we see Falstad has been forced to answer. But sometimes small XP advantages that you get out of taking those forts can get you a little bit closer or edge back to that race to 13.
I knew this game or this series would be awesome, close, and I'm glad to see that so far that has been the case. eStar, a team of legends in Heroes of the Storm at their height, one of the only teams who are able to take games and even threaten series versus MVP Black at their height. And Team Dignitas fully feeling as a 5-person unit now. They had their role swap or their roster swap at the beginning of Phase 1 and now feeling like this is their tournament. And it all starts here with their first series. Shrine activating soon. Both teams neck and neck in experience, looking to get 13.
Yeah, and one of the easy ways to do that obviously was with Falstad, but it is middle Shrine, not that far away. Look for both teams to try and side soak here, but you can see Kerrigan going in with the ultra fast clear, but we'll see if we see X try with that same aggressive approach that you just talked about.
He does get pulled in with a combo, which takes a lot of damage there. Self-destruct was ready. Used boosters first to push everyone away. Johanna separated from the group. Odin's been dropped, so they can re-engage off of this once they heal up. Savage starting to lose health. Boosters pushing Xaylia off the point, letting eStar continue to control this shrine. 24-17 of Skeletal Defenders so far.
Yeah, things are working out really well for eStar as we see Xingxi starting to go in, but the combo down onto D.Va. The Maelstrom has been popped as well. Sanctification with the Bunny Hop is out.
Oh, and it is slowing things down. Horrify, though, immediately to follow up Sanctification. Wonderfully done by Mene. That gets the first kill. A second kill. Counter kill. Kerrigan's out 1-for-1.
Xingxi's continuing the aggression. He is going to go ahead and drop back. They obtain the Punisher. We see Tiger going in, hitting with that hammering, doing some more damage. D.Va not able to get in range, but they did obtain the Punisher. 13 here for both teams, 1-for-1 trade. In the end, works out for eStar.
It does. The Punisher leaps. No sidewall down in time, so this will be defended rather quickly from Team Dignitas as they have their 2 ranged damage dealers to deal with it and that wall in full force. But eStar at least will get the wall down, get some experience from that, and take out the wall for future pushes.
Again, not the most value out of these Punishers. They've just had a hard time sieging up in these moments, opting for the split soak. Falstad goes up, grabs a little bit, Hearth's back. We'll see them regroup, but again, the focus in between the Shrine phase. The thing about this rinse and repeat motion for the first 10 minutes, it's fine, but from here on out, those death timers are going to be a lot longer, so look for more advantages to be had.
One thing, though, to note about Team Dignitas is no matter how far behind they get, it always feels like they can figure out how to make a comeback happen. I felt like they were one of the first non-Korean teams to feel like a Korean team because of that, right? Their punishment is incredible. So eStar have to continue to play on the very top of their game completely through this game if they want to take it versus Dignitas, especially because we have Echoed Corruption almost finishing, and then later on we'll have more damage, Ruinous Affliction at 16.
That is definitely the one to go with. Now, see, this is a moment where I think when Dignitas, it's one of the things I want to see Dignitas do. They may or may not have had vision on that bottom lane on the minimap because there's 2 members for eStar. And instead of going over and trying to invade camp or try and spot it out, they sent nobody over. The camp was obtained right beside them. And it's moments like that where I think Dignitas, if they just kind of poke a little bit, kind of get your eyes on things, is that something they could have capitalized on?
Check in on things a bit more. Waiting though, still for the next shrine potentially, for making sure that they have the right talents. They want Power Spike. Again, that 16 is going to be so good. We also have Overkill build for Tychus, so we'll add on to that at 16 as well. Getting increased damage there. Shrine about to start, and speaking of 16, eStar is closer to getting it. Maybe enough of a lead to let them get things started in the shrines, and that tends to be when they're able to take the shrines, is when they have an advantage starting in on there and they're able to get things started before Kerrigan gets to the spot.
Yeah, I think right now Dignitas, they're going to clear this mid wave. They should have a top lane that they can get to as well. Obviously, you see Tiger trying to do that split soak. He'll be able to fly up. Both teams, this will be competitive in just a moment. Dignitas starting to make their way up to the top. Oh, they're coming back for Falstad mid.
The collapse is happening,
Yeah.
but Tiger's there, and that did buy a lot of time. Look at the Skeletal Defenders, 20 now, and rising for eStar, and Dignitas doesn't yet have 16, and they're not yet on the point, so they're giving this up. They're foregoing the Shrine in favor of trying to siege, trying to do something else, but it took so long to try to go for that pick that they didn't really get too much. They didn't achieve too much. They'll at least have a camp to maybe slow eStar down here in the mid.
One of the key things for Dignitas here is that they will have Odin. Odin is one of the best sieging tools if you're on offense, and one of the best anti-sieging if you want to stay on that back line. So we'll see the focus here in just a minute as they grab that camp to put pressure elsewhere, give something to be responded to, fade it over, and here comes the damage.
Nice combo follow-up too, except that Savage and Lucian are A-okay. Still trying to take down a small wall though, so that they can follow up with this Punisher. Holy Ground to keep some of the damage off the Punisher, make it last a little bit longer, but here's the point where Dig might be able to turn things around. They're going for a full engage. Divine Shield lands in time to keep Kerrigan alive, starting to build up those Maelstrom shields. Savage goes in to self-destruct, trying to build back up and get the mech back. It is available, and he will choose to use it.
Salia so close as he kept using those Q resets to go in. They're still posturing up a little bit, trying to see if they can find an engagement. Remember, they are slowed, and there's
Horrify.
Oh, that is nicely done.
Horrify was there, but man, Savage, yeah, jumped right over the team. Now he's off to the side, too. The fight is happening at all levels. Gust separates out Snitch from the rest of the team. Xingqian going for the throat, trying to take him down, but doesn't get the kill. It may be Bakery, though, but that would be okay for Dignitas. Best case scenario, because they still have heals.
Tyrael very low, no mana. They can't really go back to pick that fight, as you said. Uther willing to sacrifice himself because he can heal from the dead, but team not willing to re-engage. That's about as good as a trade as you could have got for Dignitas, as things looked really rough there for a second.
eStar playing things out well with trying to zone and separate, both with Holy Ground and also with Mighty Gust. But importantly, Team Dignitas still has all of their keeps. eStar's trying to make sure that that won't be the case with the next shrine that they win. They take down the fort here in the mid, can rotate to the bottom lane too, as there's still 10 seconds before Uther's even back up, plus the time that it takes for him to rotate back to the team.
Well, it's been surprising because two forts are down for Dignitas, and no forts on eStar side have really been threatened. And so far, we see all the Punishers basically picked up by eStar, but yet they've not been aggressive with any of their pushes. They just fall back, split soak somewhere else, and they're not seeing results from that. Like their experience lead should conceivably be better, but instead they're about a half level up, and while they do have 2 forts down, you gotta wonder, could they have gotten more at this point so far?
Yeah, that is a good question to ask. They did try a little bit there in the top lane with the last Punisher, but now they don't have a talent tier advantage like they did in the last Shrine to be able to get a lead. Dignitas is already ready and willing to get things started on the Shrine. Snitch once again caught. Horrify has to be used. Immediate Sanctification to stop it.
Yeah, Odin is here. The Divine Shield has been used on him, and on the backside, Xingqian gets the first kill. He's trying to get the takedown, but it is going to be Greymane following. They are continuing the aggression. Snitch on the wrong side of this fight, Gilly.
Yeah, eStar kind of got separated in who they wanted to attack, but they should, in the end, still be able to get a kill on Snitch. Now using Bunny Hop just to make sure they do it. Tiger has been zoned away. It's funny, zoning and counter zoning from either side, but it's a 1-for-2 in the end when all is said and done. That is enough for eStar to get another shrine. But again, it's a place where Team Dignitas has a fort.
They're actually looking to re-engage, and there is the explosion coming out from D.Va's mech. It's going to clear quite a few of those skeletal defenders, but they're looking to re-engage here.
Yeah, it's not done. They still have a warrior. They still have their support, they being eStar. Savage fairly low on, or Lucian fairly low on mana, but Savage has another mech possible, just using the damage from D.Va in pilot mode for now.
The thing about what is happening here is not so much that they're looking to re-engage looking for a fight, they're trying to steal skeletal defenders to allow time for their heroes to come back for the defense. I don't think this was meant to be a full-on re-engage. They understood that it was gone, they don't have the healer as you said. It was meant to buy time because you were missing damage from Tychus and Kerrigan. You have a fort standing behind you, so you can fall back. You have Johanna to use Iron Skin and walk away, so there was never any real threat there.
And if you stay there and don't just back off and try to go elsewhere, then eStar is forced to not go back, try to heal up, or go get something and make this a stronger push than it would be otherwise. But even still, this is now put Dignitas in a position where they have to defend versus not only a Punisher, but a Punisher plus eStar's 20. Get through this defense, and they should be able to. And then they'll be able to, they won't have to worry anymore about eStar getting ahead in talent tiers.
Reasonably, a keep should go down here if you're on the side of eStar. And if you're Dignitas, that's actually not terrible. Giving away a kill in the middle of this would be worse. I love the fact that we've seen Dignitas try to bait it over to the middle. They've already got the Punisher down to 50%. Things looking really good for Dignitas' defense here.
Does eStar feel like they have to get more, like they have to end here? The Punisher bait, and nobody really there looking to try to get kills along with it. Doesn't make me think so. Xingqian's pretty far deep, as is Lucian, but the rest of the team starting to disengage, though. Mena is checking it out. You've got to make sure not to get too separated because the threat of Horrify.
Again, that's almost best case scenario for Dignitas. Obviously, if they could have saved the keep, sure. But being down 20-19, only losing a bottom keep, and then you'll be 20 before the next shrine phase, that's actually not too bad. They played everything from the minute they had that 2-1 loss in that team fight to grab a few skeletal defenders to get everybody back and make that defense. It was actually really well done.
eStar using the last little bit of their 20 advantage to get what they can, stealing away both of the camps from Team Dignitas. Going to push in with this top Shaman camp they did get. That keep is fairly low. They want to get even more pressure, and this is great too, because the more that they are able to take down, the less defense there is versus Punishers and Shrines. But Dig have 20 now, and eStar need to respect it.
eStar is in such a good position that if they were on the losing end of a team fight 2-1, they're still in a good spot. All of their forts are still standing. If they lose the Punisher, they don't lose the game, but we've got a bush here, and H is gonna get stunned. The combo, it's not gonna land, but Xingxi on the backside trying to get onto Gul'dan, who gets horrified away. Sanctification down, though.
Chinese bush meta as eStar try to find a kill, but yeah, Xingxi being horrified away from the Sanctification nullified a lot of the lethality of eStar's comp. They still have Ancestral Healing as a possibility. They have Bunny Hop 2 and eStar's, or Savage still has, or is in his mech, so there's the possibility there, but Savage is being slowed down. Once again, dives over the team, and they continue to re-engage with Bunny Hop.
Yeah, now the Divine Shield is used onto Kerrigan. The minute that goes down, Xingxi goes in, gets the kill. We're going to see if he's going for more as the flight over is going to take down Tychus, and down goes Bakery, and this could be the beginning of the end.
Man, eStar is being so loud in here. The energy from that side of the room is electric. They know what a play they just made. They take down a keep. A shrine is activating in that lane too. Team Dignitas have 20, but they lost the last fight. 43 seconds until they have Tychus back.
So reasonably, it's basically game at this point because you grab the Punisher, you push top lane, and you end. There's a sliver of a hope that you can bait it over to the middle, somehow survive this 22-20 push, and a Punisher 20 minutes a game. The odds are really small right now, but eStar primed to win right now.
Every lane being pushed, eStar is taking a little bit of time to be able to get this Punisher, so that's a nice hope for Team Dignitas. Dig noticing what a difficult spot they have been put in, hanging out, seeing if anyone even steps forward to push this minion wave. They tried to push it out a little bit, just in case they might be able to catch somebody. They may even try to get the team fight behind the Punisher too if they can, although that's risky because the Punisher can jump in. But it's all down to risky plays at this point.
Shaman Camp just amplifies that push in that top lane. The mid lane there by Falstad, you know, I don't think it's 100% necessary, but they're just going to make sure that they have pressure everywhere. You have the Shaman Camp behind this. A defense by Team Dignitas here right now is basically a miracle defense if they make it.
Like I said, this feels like a different eStar, stifling eStar who loves to keep the pressure going. Here they are. There is the party bush from Team Dignitas. They're looking at JPL.
They're going in, JPL trying to bring them up as Big Red Button putting some damage down onto the Punisher. They've already got it down to 85%. They're starting to go, but JPL will have that shield once he goes down. So it's not the end, but now all of a sudden they've taken down Falstad.
They did take down Falstad. They're self-destruct, zoning away all of Team Dignitas. Gul'dan is low and being chased down by the Punisher. Brought down that far with the self-destruct. Savage is back into mech form, has lost their Falstad. They still want to try to make it happen here. They know that they have this late game Punisher. Xingxi's getting on the core. Bakery nearly down, but that is Uther. He has redemption and has the heals during that ghost form. Ancestral healing keeps Savage alive. The core is down to 30%. eStar have done it. They have won game 1.
I don't want to say I'm surprised, but I'm surprised in the fashion in which they just handled Dignitas. And again, if you don't get full Kerrigan value, games will look like that. And I really wonder if that's kind of just something, when we saw the first few Shrine phases, we just saw D.Va split Dignitas, and it created chaos. eStar played that phenomenally well.
They did. Grubby brought up an important point the last time we saw D.Va, which was with Nomia, and that was the D.Va factor, right? We don't know how much of this is the sheer fact that teams just might not quite be ready or know where D.Va's place is in the meta and how to counter it just yet. So it's a great time to try to bust it out right at the beginning when your opponents may not be ready for it. eStar gets game 1. Let's check in with the panel and see what they thought of that game.
That's right. Thank you very much, Gilly. It seems like the D.Va believers out there, 300% win rate. I didn't think it was possible, but it just keeps going up, Grubby.
Yeah, it's like 3,000 pro meal as well.
Right.
It's really impressive, 3-0 victory. But I gotta say, I didn't expect eStar to be able to bring the pain like this. We have been hyping up China as a region for a very long time in Heroes of the Storm.
Yep.
And just when we all collectively kind of didn't believe in it anymore, they bring the mega pain here on Team Dignitas. They looked really good in the team fights, aggressive, but measured and fastidious in their control. Tyrael, he played out of his mind.
Seemed like a struggling Dignitas in that game.
Yeah, I would totally agree. Also, I feel it's that Kerrigan didn't have the impact they were hoping for.
Yes.
Usually with Kerrigan, you're trying to establish early control and you hope for the early kills. In total in the game, they got 3, so that never really worked out for them. And China, I'm very impressed. I did not expect eStar to do this well against them. They were struggling in scrims a bit against various teams, and this was a very solid performance by them, so kudos.
Fan, good call to start things off in this series.
Yeah, thanks. And I just want to bring up, like, I don't think Dignitas played really badly that game either. The thing I was most pleasantly surprised about is I think eStar just kind of stepped up their level.
Yeah.
Like, I had flashbacks to, like, 2015, 2016 eStar. That was, like, the eStar that I originally fell in love with because they could do things with Tyrael Greymane, like, insanely aggressive, well-coordinated dives that just I have never seen anywhere before. And it looks like they're kind of going back to that form, so I'm really impressed with that game.
Yeah, it did seem that way, for sure. And you do have a replay for us from that game.
Yeah, so this replay, we can jump right in. It's going to be a fight on the shrine, as always. And if we could just pause right here. You can see right here that Xingxi on the Greymane just has no fear. We can see that he's right on top of the Kerrigan. You know, he's just going to trust that his team can protect him. You see him diving in at half HP on the Kerrigan. If we keep playing the replay out, you can see, you know, he trusts his team to protect them. Here comes the Gust. The Tyrael walks in right when he needs the Sanctification. He gets the Sanct and the Ancestral. So they trade Sanct for Divine Shield. But even right after that, their focus is still very high on the Kerrigan. So just keep your eye on the Kerrigan here. you can see Tyrael dies, but they don't just give up the fight. They're still sticking on the Kerrigan, and as soon as Kerrigan jumps in, every single member of eStar jumps in onto Kerrigan and eliminates him. And after that, they eventually can close out the shrine, because without Kerrigan, Dignitas just can't finish the shrine.
It feels like the explosion on Tyrael really forced Zelia to somehow move out, and he thought, okay, I'm going in. And they just waited for that moment and immediately collapsed on him and made it essentially a 1-for-1 trade, what at first looked like them going into a 5 versus 4.
Do you realize how different that would have been if the minion waves met at the middle?
Yeah.
Because actually Dignitas pushed the minion waves, so they didn't have a red minion for Kerrigan to jump down onto. So there was only one way to go for her. Either stay in Tyrael's explosion or jump into the fray of danger, and eStar was ready to pounce.
I think it's important to know, and it's something that I wanted to mention at the start of the series, but didn't, because we